Here are 5 forgotten creatures that once terrorized isolated villages. Imagine living in a place where the scariest thing isn't taxes, traffic, or your neighbor's karaoke habit. No, imagine living in a world where the real problem is the possibility that something with too many limbs, too few eyes, or way too much interest in your soul might be waiting outside your door. Because for small villages long before electricity, Wi-Fi, or basic emotional stability, nighttime wasn't peaceful. Nighttime was a threat. And nothing embodied that threat better than these 5 creatures that managed to slip through the cracks of history. Let's start with the one responsible for half the missing livestock and at least 3 mysterious disappearances involving people who should not have gone outside after midnight. 1. The Hollow Shepherd. The Hollow Shepherd looked almost human, and that was the unsettling part. A tall silhouette wrapped in rotting wool, a shepherd's crook held at an unnatural angle, and a head that was just empty. No face, no features. Just a hollow, black indentation like someone carved the front off with a shovel because emotions were overrated. But once upon a time, he was just Oren, a lonely shepherd who spent more time talking to his sheep than to people. And honestly, if you saw Oren's neighbors, you'd understand. They were the kind of villagers who made small talk feel like punishment. One winter, a brutal storm wiped out his entire flock overnight. 40 sheep frozen, stiff, like woolly statues. Grief-stricken, Oren begged the valley spirits for help. "Let something watch the hills with me," he whispered. Unfortunately, the spirits had a sense of humor. They granted him a guardian by hollowing him out first. The transformation. It began with chills crawling up his spine. Then his breath fogged into shapes he couldn't recognize. His skin tightened like parchment. His face collapsed inward, leaving nothing but a black void where humanity used to be. His bones stretched, his posture bent, and the staff in his hand fused to his arm as if the valley decided he didn't deserve opposable thumbs anymore. Oren vanished. The Hollow Shepherd remained. Why villagers feared it? Because it patrolled the empty fields every night, searching for sheep that no longer existed. And if anyone followed its crooked silhouette into the fog, their voices were found days later echoing across the hills, but their bodies never were. The Hollow Shepherd taught villages a simple moral. Never beg the spirits for help. They'll help, just not in the way you want. And if you think losing your face is bad, wait until you meet the creature that steals something even worse, your voice. 2. The Whisper Mule. At first glance, it looked like a mule. If mules were built incorrectly, its legs were too long, bending slightly backward like a marionette handled by someone drunk. Its neck stretched into an unnatural curve. Its eyes were wide, unblinking, and glowing with the subtle energy of, "I know what you whispered last night." And that wasn't even the worst part. This thing didn't eat, didn't sleep, didn't make a sound. It just listened, obsessively. The origin. Before becoming a 4-legged surveillance system, it was Davin, the village miller. Davin loved gossip the way dragons love gold. He collected rumors, hoarded secrets, and spread them faster than plagues. One evening, he tried eavesdropping on a wandering witch. Not smart. The witch turned, stared at him with the expression of someone who's heard enough stupidity for one lifetime, and muttered, "May you become what you crave." And poof, Davin disappeared before breakfast. In his place, a stretched, spectral mule lurking outside windows like the medieval equivalent of a wiretap. The transformation. His spine elongated first. His jaw cracked into an animal shape. His ears sharpened to pick up whispers from across entire houses. And his voice dissolved fitting, considering he stole everyone else's. At midnight, the Whisper Mule would release every secret it collected in the exact voices of the villagers. Imagine waking up to hear your own voice floating outside your door saying, "I don't actually like my brother-in-law." Chilling. Moral of the story. It reminded villagers that gossip has consequences. The consequence might be hooved, hollow, and standing outside your bedroom window. But speaking of hollow things, our next monster didn't steal voices. It stole shadows. 3. The Shade Drinker. The Shade Drinker was a moving silhouette, a tall, angular shape with too many joints and the posture of someone who hasn't slept since the invention of fire. It didn't walk, it glided. It didn't breathe, it rustled. And its presence dimmed lanterns like night itself needed more territory. Before the curse, long before becoming a spectral void, it was Elra, a charcoal maker. She spent years surrounded by smoke, soot, and the constant belief that sunshine was a myth invented by optimistic children. One summer, the forest caught fire. Her livelihood burned to ash. She begged the forest spirits for darkness that can never be taken from me. The spirits delivered. Why do people keep wishing for things without reading the invisible cosmic fine print? The transformation. Elra's body melted into smoke. Her fingers thinned into long, ink-like tendrils. Her chest caved inward, as if the fire had burned her from the inside out. Her eyes collapsed into empty sockets. Then she rose not as a woman, but as a walking, hungry shadow. The terror she brought. The shade drinker fed on shadows. If your shadow touched hers, your body weakened instantly, as though someone unplugged your soul for a minute. People collapsed mid-step. Children fainted. Lanterns flickered, then died whenever she passed. Villagers feared that losing your shadow meant losing part of your life force, and if the shade drinker devoured enough, she might eventually become real again. And if that doesn't ruin your night, don't worry. Here's a creature that doesn't take your shadow. It takes your memories. 4. The Memory Eater of Larkswood. This one didn't roar, didn't hunt, didn't stalk. It wandered, aimlessly, silently, like a confused librarian searching for a misplaced apology. It appeared as a pale, hunched figure with cloudy eyes, twisted fingers, and a head that tilted too far sideways like it had been studying something for centuries and still didn't understand. Who it used to be. Tovin, the village historian. A man who remembered everything. Too much, honestly. Births, deaths, debts, betrayals, whose goat ate, whose vegetables, which neighbor secretly hated, which neighbor's soup, all in perfect detail. Eventually, people grew uncomfortable. No one likes someone who remembers all their mistakes. So, during a famine, the villagers blamed him. They drove him into the woods, telling him to forget everything. Ah, there's that cosmic irony again. Transformation. As Tovin stumbled deeper into the forest, memories leaked from him like smoke. His name dissolved first, then his family, then his purpose. The fog absorbed his past, reshaping him into a creature that survived only by devouring the memories of others. His new body twisted, bones curving, spine bending, fingers curling like claws holding invisible journals. Why villagers feared it. The Memory Eater didn't attack physically. It simply walked past your window. And by morning, you might forget a friend's name, then your chores, then the face of someone you loved. People believed that once it consumed enough memories, Tovin would become human again, but someone else would be left hollow. And yet somehow, the last creature is even worse, because it doesn't take your voice, your shadow, or your memories. It takes your reflection. 5. The Mirror Braid Witch. This creature looked almost beautiful at first glance, which, as history has taught us, is never a good sign. Tall, slender, with long black hair braided into elaborate knots that seemed to move in the wind even when the air was still. Her skin shimmered like polished stone. Her eyes reflected light in a way that suggested she was cataloging your insecurities. Her human origin. Zelda was once a young artisan who crafted mirrors for nobles. One day she made a mirror so flawless it revealed a nobleman's true appearance. Wrinkles, guilt, and a hairstyle that should have been illegal. Humiliated, he smashed the mirror and cursed her. May your face reflect nothing, but curses are notoriously bad at following instructions. Zelda's reflection vanished, but so did the reflections of anyone who looked at her. Transformation. Her hair lengthened unnaturally, braids twisting like living snakes. Her skin took on a silver sheen. Her pupils disappeared entirely. Worst of all, her braid absorbed reflections. Anyone who accidentally saw themselves in its braided coils lost their reflection permanently. Days later, those people grew faded, their voices weak, shadows thin, footsteps silent, as if the world was slowly forgetting they existed. Villager, fear. The mirror braid witch became the embodiment of lost identity. People covered windows with cloth. Mirrors were banned after sunset. Parents taught children not to stare into puddles, because you never knew where her reflection might appear next. Final wrap up. So there they are. 5 creatures born from curses, pain, terrible decisions, and the world's worst customer service from supernatural forces. A shepherd who lost his face, a mule that weaponized gossip, a shadow that wanted breakfast, a historian who took forget me way too literally, and a witch who collected reflections like trophies. They terrified villages because each one reflected a universal fear: losing your identity, losing your voice, losing your light, losing your past, losing your very presence in the world. Now, the important question: which one freaked you out the most? As always, thank you very much for watching. My name is Dr. Hollowstone, and I am really smart. Until next time, farewell.